Welcome back to another episode of the ICEcast, everybody. On this episode, I get to sit with my buddy Scotty again. He is the man who runs the channel, Dad Hut, and I want you guys to definitely go check him out. Subscribe. His videos are popping up left and right now. He's doing really good getting them out there. And his most recent video, he talks about some tips and tricks to help with fantasy football. So I thought it was a good time to get him on. We talked a bit about the upcoming NFL season. We talked about how we just kind of became fans of the teams that we're fans of, because it kind of can be a funny story at sometimes, because he and I are both fans of sports teams that aren't in the area that either we currently live in or that we grew up in. So I was curious about that, and it was a good episode. So hope you guys go check it out. Links are in the description for Scott's channel. And thanks a lot, guys. Good to go. How you been, dude?
I'm doing all right, man. How about yourself?
Pretty good. Aside from being in the hot zone for the virus, but
Well, so am I.
You are.
Yeah, Idaho's one of them.
I didn't know that. You guys were one of the last ones to kind of get hit too, weren't you?
Yeah, we've been going the wrong way for a little while though now. So
Yeah, so are we.
nothing like Florida, but we're definitely going the wrong way.
Everybody in the family okay though? Nobody's hit by it?
Nope, nobody's gotten sick. But then again, we hadn't done anything. We didn't go anywhere. They just started sending us back home from work again. So just yesterday, I started working from home again. So.
Oh wow.
Yep.
I actually took some PTO, and I'm off until the 3rd because our job's not sending us back home. So I was
wow.
I'm gonna do what I can.
Right. Yeah, I don't blame you there, man. Don't blame you there. What are you using for your camera?
I got the Razor going, the webcam.
Right.
Yeah, I'm looking into some of the ones that I talked to you about, hoping to upgrade eventually. But this one's not too bad. But if you're watching, it, like, focuses on its own way too much.
Yeah, it's focus hunting, but I mean, it can still see you.
And like right here, fucking, I don't know.
Right.
It's because I wear too much black, I think.
It could be dark and black, and I mean, who knows? Whose jersey is that?
Yanni Gord, Lightning.
Oh, okay. I was like, I don't recognize the name.
Signed right there. It's actually my cousin got it for me, and when I first got it, I was really hyped about it. I was like, that's really cool. Signed it and everything. Then he was like, oh, I hope you don't mind. It's not a Lightning jersey. It's actually a Greyhound jersey, which is the Lightning, like, minor league team. I was like, that kind of makes it cooler. I kind of liked it even more that it was a minor league team. So
cool. Yeah, it's probably a little bit different.
So, congratulations on that 20K on that first video, bro.
Yeah, man, it's doing pretty good, and the one I just put out too is like is on pace to like beat that in like
Really
a month or so. Like it's gotten 2,000 views in less than a week. So I mean, for me, that's pretty good.
right. Now you're on fire lately with putting stuff out. I've noticed. Within the past couple weeks, you have what, 3 or 4 that came out.
Yeah, I think, well, ever since I went on your first podcast and we were talking about it and I hadn't done one in a while, I was like, man, I need to get it back out there and do them. So started making them again. I got like another 2 or 3 ready to be made in the hopper. Good. So, yeah.
Let's see. Oh, yeah, the Taurus G3 is at 1.4.
Yep.
All right.
And I think it's only been out for like 4 days or something like that.
5 days.
5 days. Yeah, that's doing pretty good for me. That's definitely doing pretty good.
I'm gonna need you to share that wealth, sir.
Yeah.
Let me start talking about guns or something.
I know that's the only bad thing is like, I don't want to like pigeonhole myself into one thing. So like you get somebody who goes to your YouTube page for a one gun review, and then they're gonna look at your other stuff and be like, well, he's not all guns, so
right.
But that's cool. I don't go with that.
That's something that I've kind of been struggling with lately with the podcast. And it's like the most recent one I did with my buddies, Josh and Brian, was probably the most fun I've ever had from recording to editing a podcast. It's the most work I've ever done in editing. It's not the greatest, but it's the first time I've ever tried like inputting pictures and stuff and doing a whole new thumbnail. And I loved it. And I looked, I was like 37 views. I was like, fuck. And
Yeah,
I was
it's
like,
almost
I
disparaging, right?
understand. Yeah, I understand that like video games is a certain niche, and a lot of the people that I'm friends with aren't going to watch it because of the video game aspect. And I was like, but it's not just that. It was like a different take on like, you know, we're doing this fantasy cast, and like I thought maybe that would be interesting for people. And I was like, you know what, fuck it, we're still going to do a part 2 because we had so much fun just recording it. So
That's all that matters, man. I mean, if you do it for views, you know, you'd probably stop right away because
yeah,
it's not going to take off overnight or anything. Have you got yourself like iTunes or Stitcher or anything like that, or you
not
still
yet.
just
It's I've got to look into it harder because I have to do something with the SNS, and it's audio only. And lately, a lot of the podcasts have been geared towards video, so I need to
Mhm.
make sure my format goes to an audio friendly style. But so
Gotcha.
like last week's wouldn't be good for audio.
Right. If you're talking,
Oh,
hey, yeah, people that are listening, they can't see your visuals or anything like that.
right.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I'll figure it out. I gotta see where I'm going with it. There's talks of possibly starting a second podcast with my buddy, just strictly talking about one subject, and then I'll just work out 2 of them. It's not that hard. Like it's not too time consuming, so I think I can handle it. But
Right.
we'll
Well, you've
see.
been consistent, and I'll give you that. You've definitely been consistent.
I've been trying. Um, this one I mentioned doing this podcast with you when you were first on, and then you released a video on your channel that was almost like perfect timing for me to be like, hey, let's do this podcast. So on your channel, which if anybody that's listening remembers is Dad Hut, that's YouTube, and you just released your tips for fantasy football.
Right.
Now, have you already done your draft for this
I
season?
have not done my draft yet, and
You
I've
already
got
giving tips out?
three. I know. Well, if you watch the video, it's more. I try to like actually make it more for somebody who either has never played before or somebody who just doesn't really know anything about football. You know, there's a lot of people like that get stuck in like work leagues. They're like, hey, we need one more person to play, and like
Right.
this person says, oh, I'll do it, and then they have no idea what they're doing. So it was kind of meant to like, hey, here's what don't do when you go to your draft. Even maybe you never played before, but these are some things to try to avoid.
Right. Yeah. We'll definitely put the link for that video down at the bottom along with the link to get to your channel. So you guys need to go check it out. It's pretty cool. Good stuff. I'm definitely guilty of rule number 1. That's why I don't like doing fantasy football.
And that's why it's the most
Um,
important rule.
yeah. So, I mean, I even though my team's not the best, I love cheering for them. And, and the worst part about it is I love cheering for the Browns. And what is there? Maybe 2 people you could draft for fantasy. Definitely
Well,
Nick
no,
Chubb.
you got quite a few now.
You're not gonna draft Baker. Not coming off that season. You're
Well,
gonna pick
maybe as a
him up during
backup.
free agents or something. You're gonna draft Nick probably second or third round, maybe even first if you're lucky.
Right.
Um, and I would take
OBJ.
Landry, OBJ. So you got 2 or 3, but I don't enjoy it. I did it for a long time. I was in your brother's league last year because he told me to be, and I was like, all right. he needed one person. He's like, hey, you're gonna be in it. And I'm like, all right, cool,
Yeah, and that's how a lot of people get roped into. So
right. But I did a little bit of stuff here, and I wanted to go over before we like talk strategy and just things how you feel about fantasy football, how long you've been doing it and stuff. I wanted to get your opinion on this. I went through 3 different sites: NFL.com, Yahoo.com, and ESPN.com, and took their top 5 picks in a fantasy draft for this year.
Mhm. Mhm.
All 3 of them have Christian McCaffrey at number 1.
Yep, that sounds good.
All 3 of them have Saquon Barkley at number 2.
Mhm.
Um, Yahoo and ESPN have Ezekiel Elliott at number 3.
Mhm.
NFL.com has Thomas, the wide receiver from New Orleans, at number 3.
Mm. Mm.
Right?
Mm. I mean,
That's NFL.com.
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, I mean Thomas is great. I'd love to have him as a wide receiver, but there's so many wide receivers in the league that to draft Michael Thomas third overall,
Yeah,
you're
well,
gonna put
NFL.com gets
yourself.
weirder. Don't worry.
Oh yeah, you're gonna put
So
yourself in a big hole, man.
number 4, NFL.com has Elliott. Yahoo has Kamara from New Orleans, and so does ESPN.
Yeah, that's iffy.
Yep. Number 5, Yahoo has Henry, Tennessee.
Hmm.
ESPN has Thomas from New Orleans at number 5. NFL has Godwin from Tampa Bay, the
Ooh,
receiver, at
ooh,
number 5 overall in the league.
ooh.
That's
Yeah,
kind of weird.
I don't like it. I don't like it.
They're putting a
I,
lot of faith in Tom to make that man number 5 receiver overall,
I mean,
or
he
not even
might
receiver,
be.
but
That might actually be the case. Like he might actually score the fifth most points in the league. Like I'm not saying that that's not possible. But
you think
what
Tom
I
targets him more than Mike Evans?
I think I don't know if he targets him more, but I think Mike Evans gets the primary coverage, the primary defender, and Godwin gets second best. So I mean, you put Godwin without Mike Evans, then maybe that's a different story. But all the attention kind of goes to Mike Evans. So
Okay, that makes sense. Yep. So that's what we got. They the wide receivers in the top 5 threw me off because even being a person who's just semi done fantasy football, I've always known first round got to get a running back because you're not going to find one during free agency. You're not going to find one for your bye week. You have to get them in that draft.
yeah, I mean, uh, if you look at the running backs, there's only 32 teams in the NFL, and you think maybe 20 of those actually have a solid starter where they don't use like a two back system, and you've got to start two running backs, so that leaves only 20 out there to get. And if you're in a 12-man league, then you're already looking at four people are going to have to go with a back that's a split carry guy. So
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying, like I said, Godwin and Thomas wouldn't get that many points and be third points and fifth points overall, but they're just not as important to get in the early round as a running back is because the running backs are just so scarce.
Right. Now, say you're in a 12-man league. That's
Hmm.
probably the normal.
10 to 12, it varies, but I'd say 50% 10, 50% 12.
Okay. And say you get number 1 overall pick, you're probably taking McCaffrey if you're smart.
I would think so.
And then you go through the rest. Obviously, your 10th or 12th person gets double picks. So you got 2 rounds till it comes back to you. Most
Right.
of your best running backs are gone. Are you looking to take another running back by that point, or are you going to take a receiver because you got to? I mean, either way, you got 2 picks coming up.
Right. I would probably take another running back at that point, and
Still,
then still just to get those two because I mean, even worse comes to worse, I'm still gonna have like the eight. If everybody took a running back, I'm still gonna get like the 18th or 19th best running back or 20th best running back. And
yeah.
if I wait again, I'm definitely not getting a starter. If you wait a whole nother 20 picks,
Oh yeah,
for it to
no.
come back to you. So like a wide receiver, I mean, I probably would take a running back and then a wide receiver, but a wide receiver, there's going to be so many more. You're not going to have the top dogs when it comes back to you again, but there's going to be still. You might even still get a top 10 wide receiver at that point. You're definitely going to get a top 10 quarterback at that point. So there's no rush to go out and get those. Where the running back, if you wait if you don't take him if you got first overall pick and like you said you're gonna wait till it comes all the way back around to you and you don't take a running back, then you're now talking about let's see 12, 24, 36, like 40 something picks before you 50 something picks before you get to take a running back. They're all going to be gone,
All right.
all of them. Yeah, just you just can't leave it. And if what happens if your starter goes out, if your starter gets hurt, now what? I mean, you almost forced to take running backs.
And I was reading on Yahoo that I don't know how popular it is, but a lot of people are saying they're doing non-running back leagues this year.
That's an option. I always thought instead of doing 2 running backs, you should just do 1. And then you kind of solve that problem. And then you always have a flex position that if you do have 2 running backs, you can play that second running back at the flex position, or something like that. But yeah, I'd be totally fine with going down to 1 running back, but that's just, I've never been in a league that's done that. I don't know why they don't do that.
Aren't you normally the commissioner?
No, gosh, no. I've done a commissioner before though, and I have zero desire to ever do that again. No, my brother's a commissioner, and then I got 2, one old work league and one the work I work at now. So, but I'm not the commissioner in either of them.
Okay. All right. What do you think is maybe not your preferred, but what you think is the best position in a draft?
The best position, the one that scores the most points, you think?
No. When you're doing the draft, and do you want the very first pick and then have to wait? Do you want that last round pick so you get 2 in a row, somewhere in the middle, knowing that you don't? Like, what do you think is the best overall?
Yeah, I would say somewhere in the middle to just below the middle. So if you got 12 people, somewhere around that 4, 5, 6. If you got 10 people, somewhere around that 4 or 5 is what I would want. I wouldn't want to wait too long in between the picks. But then again, it has benefits if you are in the top, because there's really, top, 2, 3 stud running backs, and those are most likely going to go to the first 3 people.
Right.
So I think you can win from any position though. Like people win from all kinds of positions. Being the number 1 pick or being the 12th pick honestly doesn't matter unless you do a really good job with your draft and then your follow up as far as keeping up with your waiver wires and things like that. All that's more important. And then luck. You got to be lucky with health.
Right. Now waiver wires are a big game of yours, right? You're big on the waivers and free agents and stuff.
I do. I mean, I can't spend all day paying attention to football. So I can't pick up on just all these guys that are out of nowhere, but I do watch the Red Zone channel every Sunday. So that's where it just shows all the scores and, it just shows everybody who's scoring a touchdown and things like that, and just kind of bounces back and forth. And I will start to notice certain players are constantly being brought up, and when I'm sitting there, I'll just check them. Be like, okay, I'll check all 3 of my leagues. Does somebody have them? Does somebody have them? Does somebody have them? And if they don't, then I'm usually kicking something off of my team. I'm kicking a backup defense off my team. I'm kicking a backup kicker off my team just to hold another position player, because kickers and defense to me are just kind of a dime a dozen. So there's no point in me carrying a backup when I can have another really good position player, especially if it's a running back. Right. I mean, even if there's a little bit of hope that running back is going to be good, or if you see somebody get injured, like you see a starting running back hobble off the field and he doesn't return, you go and grab his backup right away, because that's who's going to be the starter the next week if that guy's hurt.
Yeah. That's very good. I remember I don't remember which league he was in, but Tim, he was like the king of waivers. I swear. He was like every week dropping 2 or 3 and picking 2 or 3 up, and he stayed in the chase the whole time. Meanwhile, I was out of the running by like the 4th week. I was like, all right, whatever.
Yeah, it can be hard, man, to pay attention and try to actually like really, really work it, man. Because I mean, if somebody else is doing all the work and you're just kind of letting your team fly by, just stay as it is, you're never really getting better. And I mean, if you had a really good draft, then you might be okay. But if you didn't, you always need to kind of improve in some aspect of your team. And if other people are out there doing it and you're not, then obviously they're going to be getting the better players.
Right. How long have you been doing fantasy? Do you remember?
Oh man, I do remember my very first fantasy football draft, but it was before like online and stuff like that. So I don't remember what year it would have been. It was a very bad experience, by the way, but it was I would say, gosh, it had to have been like 15 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
I remember, I think the only live draft I was ever part of was with our league, and we did it at Hooters. That's the only live draft I've done.
And we had like the names and everything and like stuck them up. Yep. Okay. Yeah, that's old school, man.
Yeah. It's a lot more fun than just being on the internet and doing it. And I know it's more convenient, but it's fun to have all the guys out in one spot. You got the board up there. You got the feeling when all right, I'm gonna pick this person. I'm ready to pick this person, and then they pick it, and it's like
Right.
I don't know. It's more fun. I
Yeah,
enjoy it.
you get an instant reaction out of
Yeah.
people. So where instead of like a chat room and you've got 2 seconds to think of your next pick, so you can't really be talking trash and stuff. So
Yeah.
yep, I do miss those, man. But we still do get together here in my current work league. We get
Right.
together and do a live draft. We do it through the internet, but we do it at a table and everybody's got a
Right.
tablet and a computer.
Well, that's just as good, I guess. I think we've done that a couple times with Paul. We got to, or not like with Rocky's league, but
Uh-huh.
Paul and Mike and I and maybe Tim, we would get together with our computers and do it, but it's not the same.
Certainly makes it easier on the commissioner who doesn't have to go back and enter in all those teams. It's already done for him. So that's why
Right.
that's done now.
All right. So you're excited for the season? You think you got a good game plan?
I'm really just hopeful that we have a season, man. That's
Yeah.
kind of where
I
I
mean,
am. I
baseball
mean,
started. Why not?
right. I mean, I think so. I mean, there's just so much money involved to not have football would be disastrous. So I think they will definitely find a way to do it, no matter what. But I think, it's going to actually put in a lot more complications with fantasy because if somebody gets sick and it's one of your players and they get sick, they're not going to stop the games, because of one player's being sick. He's going to have to sit out for like probably 14 days. So
Yeah.
you're going to have constant, not necessarily injuries, but sickness is where you're going to have to really be good on your backups here. Because I mean, this could go disastrous for you if there's a breakout, on a specific team, and you have a lot of players from that team.
Right. I mean, it's going to be a weird season if you like. I get New Orleans is probably one of the favorites this year. Kansas City again,
Hmm.
and like you take a team that's an odds-on favorite, and all it takes is two or three guys to get sick, and that whole team pretty much is going to quarantine. And then
Yep.
do they forfeit that week? Do they forfeit the season? Like
Right.
what do they have planned? It's going to be interesting.
Yep. And like, what happens in the playoffs if somebody gets sick, like a star player? And I mean, to be honest with you, I wouldn't be surprised if that stuff just is swept under the rug. I wouldn't be surprised.
And they play sick.
I wouldn't be surprised. Wouldn't be surprised. And then
There's a
you
lot of
find about
money.
it much, much later.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I think there's not going to be any fans. I can't see how they're going to do fans in the stands.
What did I just saw? Raymond James was looking at possibly doing 25% capacity.
I mean,
And that's a big stadium, so I guess you could spread it out pretty good, but is it worth the risk?
right? Well, it's money, man. They gotta make some. I mean, that's a big amount of money that they're losing every home game from a filled stadium and concession sales and
Yeah.
things like that. So, I mean, and if I was a fan, would I want to go and sit in a 25% occupied stadium? I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I guess
I
if
don't
you're a
even like going to
diehard,
the store, dude.
yeah, yeah.
So
I'm
no.
not a fan of going to football games anymore anyways as I'm getting older. I mean, it's just so much more comfortable to watch on TV.
Right. Who you looking at what the season might become? Who do you got pegged for MVP?
Man, it's never who you think it is. I mean, there's always some break like Lamar last
Lamar
year. Nobody,
Jackson.
yeah,
Yep.
Lamar Jackson. Nobody's. I mean, at least I didn't see that coming. I don't even think Baltimore was going to be very good. I mean, he didn't look like he could throw at all the previous
Right.
year, and now here he is with MVP. I'm sure if you look at the favorites, it's probably going to be Patrick Mahomes, but that just tells me it probably won't be Patrick Mahomes. I wouldn't
Right.
be surprised to see somebody like Russell Wilson get it. Um,
I haven't really heard
I
his name much lately in that aspect either.
he kind of carries the team. I don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure he's never won the MVP, but has finished like second multiple times. Yeah, like he just and I hate the Seahawks being a Niners fan, but I
Right.
mean you gotta respect them. If you made me guess, I would probably say Russell Wilson would probably be an MVP on offense. Defense, man, it's a crapshoot. I mean, there's so many good defensive players. Maybe even Bosa for the Niners could possibly do it, just because we have such a good defense. So.
Okay. What about let's go with the rookie of the years. What do you think? For offensive, I don't know if there's many other people aside from what's his name from Cincinnati, the quarterback. I think he might walk
Burrow.
away. Yeah, that's it, Burrow. He
Burrow.
might walk away with the
I don't
offensive
know,
rookie.
man. He's on such a bad team, though. Like, I feel so bad for that guy. Like, he could be like the greatest quarterback ever, but if you're stuck on a crappy team and a crappy organization who never wants to get better, then I mean they're going to kind of waste his career. I mean, he might not be good anyways, but I don't know that. But I mean, can you imagine? I mean, how many quarterbacks in the NFL have washed out because not because of talent, but because they're just on bad teams with bad coaches and bad leadership. And whereas if they would have been in other situations, they would have been playing for 20 years. So I mean, I just think that the Cincinnati Bengals, the owner in that, they have no desire to win. They just want to make money, and I think that does not bode well for Joe Burrow.
I think that's the best thing you said is not necessarily just because it's a bad team, it's a bad organization, and the owner does not care about winning a championship, doesn't care about winning games.
Right. So. Yeah, it's a moneymaker for that guy. So I mean that sucks that they have owners like that, but I mean it is what it is. I mean he can't help it. That's who he got drafted to. I mean that kind of sucks.
Could have pulled a Peyton Manning and just said trade me, or I'm not going to play.
Right. And then everybody gets mad at players when they do that. But man, I mean, if you get stuck on a crappy team, like, I mean, it could really, really mean a whole lot of a difference for your career. So, I mean, I get it.
What about on the defense side? Do you have anyone in mind?
Oh, it's going to be that guy from Ohio State. I can't remember his name for the life of me. He's got the dreads.
The guy that went to Washington? That's what I was
thinking. Yeah,
something Young. Yeah.
Yes, Young. Chase Young or Chase.
That's it, Chase.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's a beast, man. He's a beast.
Washington, whatever they're gonna be.
Right.
Red Tails or something. I don't know what they were coming up with.
Yeah, that'll be interesting too to see what they come up with. I heard on the radio some guy bought like every single possible thing that they had been thinking of. Like he bought the domain name and owns like all of them.
What a dick. So
like, I know. But like if they want to change their name to that, he owns the domain name and is, they're gonna have to pay him.
It out.
Right. So
smart.
I mean, smart, but a dick move. But
yeah,
smart.
Dick move. Smart, just a dick move.
Right. Yep.
Oh man.
What do you think about your Brownies, man?
Same as I feel every season. It's like no matter what kind of moves we make, I'm always gonna have that Browns mentality of we're going to find a way to mess it up. I think Baker will have a much better season than he had last year.
Agreed.
I think he learned a lot. I think he's going to hopefully have more backup from his offensive line and not get hit as much as he did because he got hit a lot. Chubb is still going to be an absolute monster on the field. He's like a wrecking ball. Landry's still going to be good. OBJ, hopefully his mindset's there. There's a lot of rumors of him wanting to be traded or shit like that. So they just did an extension for Myles Garrett, so that's pretty exciting.
Big one.
Barring he doesn't smack anybody with a helmet, he'll have a good season. For me, the taking away the whole aura and the name, the Browns, the team itself has a chance to be a playoff team. If you just look at the star caliber they have, this coach, though, I'm not quite sure about. So we'll have to see. I don't think he likes Baker too much. He was pushing to draft a quarterback. I know that. So.
That's not a good start, but no. I think the pressure is way off as opposed to what it was last year. Everybody had such high hopes for them and was like, they had them winning the division, a lot of people. And like, I just think this year, if anything, they're going to be playing with less pressure.
Yeah, and I think that's
Still,
going to help
still
a
some
lot.
pressure, but not as much as people were putting on them last year.
Right.
Hopefully, they run the ball more, man. They'll be good if
That's
they could just run.
exactly. Just hand it off until Chubb can't run, and then who do you got backing him up? Kareem Hunt. Okay, give him the ball too. Like that's one of the best 1-2s you can have, and they don't even use it as a 1-2. Like a lot of people would use those two as a split, whereas we're giving it to Chubb, and then in this certain situation, all right, we'll give it to Kareem, and it's a really good team of running backs. I hope they stick with it. And I hope they use Landry more in the slot, whereas they were using him like a couple years ago instead of last year as a number 2 receiver. They need to put him in the slot. That's where his routes are best at.
Yeah, I mean, I think if they just run the ball good, they'll be able to pass no problem if you can run the ball, because it'll bring the defense up. And I don't know why last year they just thought they needed to pass all the time. I mean, I feel like Baker was just dropping back, and they were just drawing up plays in the dirt.
Doing.
Yeah. Oh, well, you live and you learn.
Right. How about the Buccaneers though? You and I just listened to our conversation maybe 2 days ago, and I re-listened to it, and we both gave absolutely 0% chance of Tom going to Tampa. we said, he wants to win. He'll probably go here, but we both said he's going to resign, and boy, we were wrong.
So listen to us, because we know what we're talking about.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the Bucs, and I don't live in Tampa, so I don't hear it anymore. Like I only watch, national media over here about the Buccaneers. So if you look though at the way they played last year, like Jameis Winston literally just cost them so many games with how many turnovers he has. They have a really good team. So can Tom Brady make them better than Jameis Winston? Jameis Winston, if you don't look at his turnovers, and I know that's part of it, but if you don't, his numbers are insane.
Right.
Like passing yards, touchdowns, I mean, they are insane. Like he just screwed up so much that it just washed out all the good stuff that he was doing. So, I mean, if they can protect Tom Brady, they certainly have a chance. I don't think they can beat the Saints in their division, but they can definitely be a wild card team, in my opinion, especially if Tom Brady can stay upright. I mean, they just have so many offensive weapons. I mean, I just think now you got Gronk too to add to that. I mean, I don't know what kind of player Gronk's going to be, but I saw not too long ago. I mean, he looks like he was in good shape. So, I mean,
I think that year off did really well for him. He's going to be really healthy, and I saw they did like a behind the scenes thing because they released pictures of them in the jerseys and everything, and they did a whole behind the scenes with Gronk, and he just looks so happy to be in this area, and he always just looks like he's having a good time anyway, but he really looked like he enjoyed putting on the jerseys, and he was looking at the new jerseys. He's like, oh, these are awesome. These are going to look good, and this and the other. And he just had a good time doing it. I think his energy is going to bring the team up. His connection with Brady is going to help with like Mike Evans and Godwin to be like, oh, okay, so that's what kind of Brady's looking for in this. And they just drafted that lineman in their first round, and I think they're going to be super dangerous.
Do you know who they play first?
I'll look it up real quick.
I think them getting out to a good start is like super important, because the media, if like Tom Brady and Gronk, they all come back and they like lose, or they go like drop 2 of their first 3 or something like that, they are going to be all over them talking about how it's over and Bill Belichick made the right decision letting Tom Brady go. So I think if they've got an easy schedule to start and can build some momentum, man, that's going to be huge for them. Huge.
Right.
Do you guys still have that guy on the radio that says, huge Tampa?
Oh, you know what? I don't know. I haven't listened to him on the radio. I used to only listen to him. Like I'd turn the game on and then I would turn the radio on instead of the announcers.
He had the car commercial.
Oh, you're talking about that guy? Oh, I freaking hate that guy. Yeah, he's still on the radio, but he doesn't do it anymore. So, like, now the girl that always talks to him, she'll say it. Right. Or, like, another person. They'll still say huge, but he doesn't actually say it. I know what you're talking about now. No,
God, I hated that guy.
It sucks.
When I said huge, that made me think of it.
I was thinking you were talking about the radio announcer for the Bucks. He was awesome. Let's see. So regular week 1 against the Saints in New Orleans.
Ouch. Yeah, that's a toughie. But they'll get
See
a free
that, but that
pass.
game alone is going to pretty much set the standard for the South. Like one of those two teams is going to walk away from that, and then we got the Panthers, then the Broncos, and then the Chargers.
Yeah, that's not easy. Not easy. And they'll get a pass on the Saints if they lose because they'll say, oh, it's their first game. They had to go to New Orleans, and these guys now they're talking about not even having a preseason, so it's going to be like their first real game. So I think they can get a pass by that. But if they're losing to Denver and they're losing to the Chargers. Then it's going to be a long year.
Yeah. I hope they do well. I'm not the biggest Bucks fan. As everyone knows, I'm a Browns fan, but, hometown team, it'd be nice to see them do well.
Yeah, I actually hope they do very well. I would be rooting for them in the at least in the NFC South.
Right. Until they have to meet in the playoffs against the Niners.
Yeah, and then we'll take Tom Brady's head off. Well, maybe.
Jimmy's good, but
Jimmy's just there, man, not to mess it up.
But I feel like he's just kind of like missing something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. He doesn't have the
that elite pin or something.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. He's a system guy, and he just doesn't. He makes a throw when we need him to make a throw, and then besides that, we run the ball down your throat and try to play defense.
Yeah.
And it worked very well. And even in the Super Bowl, it worked very well for 3 quarters. And then I don't know what the hell happened.
Right. I feel like Garoppolo could easily do just as well in any team in the NFL. He's that kind of guy.
Probably.
It's like he would just go to a team, they'd be like, this is what we run. He'd be like, okay.
Yep. And he's probably going to be just as good as he is there. Like, he wouldn't be great. Probably ain't going to win an MVP and all that, but he is going to be just above average quarterback.
Sometimes that's all you need, though, especially when you got a stacked defense and a running team.
Yep.
Jeez.
But I think we fall off this year. I think we're going to have a letdown.
Really? You're going to make the playoffs?
Yeah. I'll say yes. I'll lean towards yes, but we won't have the run like that. Maybe first round playoffs and out, and probably don't win the division. I think there's just going to be a little bit of a letdown. We lost Emmanuel Sanders. So, that was a big part of our run there in the second half last year. So we'll see. We'll see what's going to happen. We got to re-sign George Kittle. So, pretty much we got to pay this guy whatever the hell he wants and never let him leave.
You're just preparing yourself so that if you guys are good, you're not like.
Yeah. It's a letdown. The Super Bowl really sucked. I had a really rough day the next day, but
at least you went. You were there.
That's true. It was a fun ride, and it doesn't bother me as much as stuff used to. So it did bother me for the day, but then I was over it. Just didn't listen to sports talk radio or anything, and was never talked about it or never watched anything about it again. So that was good.
When I was listening to that first episode, listening to you talk, and it was like back in the day with Boston, man, the day after a win, we couldn't not hear you. But God forbid if the Red Sox even lost a game. Jesus, especially against New York or Tampa.
I know. I was a cocky little son of a bitch. I'm not gonna lie.
A little bit.
Yeah, but I needed to calm down on that stuff. Now I just don't. It's great if they win. It sucks if they don't. But I got other things to do.
You got some family and some life choices that you had to make.
That's right. There's bigger tragedies.
Now I don't remember you ever being a huge college football fan, at least when you were down here. But do you follow Boise out there at all? Boise State?
I do. I always have followed college football. Nothing like Tommy. Yeah,
dude, super.
He
fan.
knows backup players for like Appalachian State and stuff.
Right.
When players change so much, it's really hard for me to, I guess keep up with it. And there's so many teams. It's not like the NFL where there's only 32. There's
Right.
like 150 something Division I schools. So out here though, Boise State is obviously everything and anything. I mean, they're front news of the newspaper every single day. So you can't really avoid it. I do pay attention to it a little bit.
Right.
But I mean, I don't go crazy about it. When they're on, we watch them. But and, we have gone to a couple games and stuff like that, so we do root for them, and they're kind of my new team, I would say. But
Right.
I don't go into it like NFL football, and I think that has a lot to do with fantasy. But yeah, I just can't pay attention to it like I do NFL.
How did this is completely random. How did you become a 49ers fan? And there's a follow-up to that. So how did you become a Niners fan? Because you grew up here.
Right. So there's actually pictures of me as I would say probably 8-year-old with 49er stuff on. And what happened was my uncle is a big Denver Broncos fan. Lived in Denver for a while. Lived in Denver, I think, multiple times now. But he kind of like pushed like our family to be Denver Bronco fans, and my brother,
Your
who
brother's a
obviously,
huge
right,
Bronco fan.
and that's why he's a Broncos fan, is from my
Okay.
uncle from when we were kids. And I never wanted to follow suit. I never wanted to be like, oh, well, let's do everything that everybody else is doing. And the Buccaneers really sucked at that time and had really ugly jerseys, so I couldn't jump on them. But I did note that the 49ers beat the Broncos in like 1981 or 82 Super Bowl, 52-10, which is still the worst ever lopsided victory for any Super Bowl. So, and this was before they started to win in the late 90s. This was like mid 80s. So I was like, all right, that's my team. My team's the team that beat your team 52-10 in the Super Bowl. And then and then over the next couple of years, they won like 3 more. So I was like, this is
So
awesome.
what you're saying is you were an asshole even as a child.
Yes. I like to say rebel.
Okay, we can go with Rebel, but no, you completely picked a team just because it beat your family's team.
Yes, that's exactly how it happened. Yep.
That's amazing. It's weird to think of like how you become fans of teams aside from the whole homegrown thing. So like with baseball, Tampa Bay's only been here for X amount of years. We grew up not having a team. A lot of people in this area were, aside from Yankees, they were Cardinal fans because they had their spring training down here in St. Pete.
Right.
I became a White Sox fan just because of a trading card show and opening a pack of cards and found a Frank Thomas signature card, and like that just boom. From then on, I was a White Sox fan. And you don't ever really think of like, it's like there's people that live in probably Boise area that could be an Atlanta Braves fan, and you're like, how?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
How did you, unless you came from there, how did you become a Braves fan? It's a weird thing to think, and I was thinking about that today because with baseball's my favorite sport, and I know we're getting into that even though we're talking about football, but White Sox have been my all-time favorite team. I supported the Rays for a while, being the hometown team. I really enjoyed watching them. They made some moves to where I was just like, I'm done with this team. But there's always been two other teams that like I don't know if you have this, but I have the White Sox. That's my team. But there's also two other teams that like if they were to win, I'd be real happy, and that's the Oakland A's. I've always liked them for some reason, and the Milwaukee Brewers.
Mm-hmm.
And then like, and I don't. I was sitting there. I was like, I don't even remember how I became fans of the A's. I think the Brewers I became a fan because of that movie with Bernie Mac. I remember seeing that, and I was like, this is a good
Mr.
movie.
300.
Yeah, Miss 3000 or something. That's it.
3000. Yeah.
And just like the whole, like their uniforms are really cool. Their stadium's really good. And I was like, all right, let me watch a couple of their games after seeing the movie. And I don't know, I just became a fan. Prince Fielder was playing at the time also. Now they got Yelich. They're exciting to watch, but like none of your favorite teams are hometown teams. We talked about the first time. Like same thing with Boston. Is it just like a thing that you saw that they were beating somebody that liked the Yankees and you wanted to be that guy, or?
Well, actually, it's actually interesting that you brought up the Braves because growing up, I don't even know how I was first of all, baseball was everything to me and my brother when we were kids. Like football was kind of secondary. Like we were big into baseball. And we were primarily Chicago Cubs fans. One, because my mother's from Chicago, so that's kind of what came down to it, and the Braves. And the reason why is because the Cubs and the Braves were on TV.
All
WGN
the time.
always showed the Cubs, and the Braves were always on TBS.
Oh my
So those were the
gosh.
teams that we always saw. So we became fans. I mean, we were kind of fans of the entire sport, but we always rooted for the Cubs and the Braves, and I think that's because they were on TV. Like
Makes
those
sense.
are the teams that we saw. But so then I never really had like a favorite team. I mean, I guess I would have said the Cubs just growing up, just because it was pushed on us so much, and they were like losers, so it was never really like we were rooting for like the favorite. So
Right.
I was always okay with that. Actually, when I met buddy of mine named Stan, who's from New Hampshire, who I played softball with, his wife and my ex-girlfriend at the time got really close. They worked together, and we would go over to his house like every single night, and we would like play pool, and the girls would do their thing or whatever. And he was a big Red Sox fan, huge Red Sox fan, still is today. And we were just the Red Sox were just on, so they were just on TV. And this was like 2002 maybe.
Wow.
Yeah, so like 2002, and then like I remember 2003 was we were there again, and it was like we were getting really good, or when I say we, the Red Sox were getting really good. And when like we were watching, and I'm not joking, like we were over there like at least 5 nights out of the week for just hanging out, drinks, shooting
Right.
pool, whatever. And the Red Sox, we would watch the Red Sox game. Me and him would watch it. The girls were whatever the hell they were gossiping about, and that's just it, man. Just watching them for like 2, 3 seasons straight, like I was like, okay, well, I mean, this is my team now
Right. So you became a Red Sox fan just through
through
hanging
somebody
out with
else.
somebody else, and that's probably easy a way people do it too. It's just weird to think about sometimes. All
Yeah,
right.
I mean, I think everybody, just like you with the Brewers, I mean, something happened in your life where like you're like, oh man, this team looks pretty cool. Whatever it be, a movie, or you got like
Right.
somebody's card or something, and it's like that stuck with you, and so you always had like some infinity for that team, and still do to this day. So I mean, I get it. I get it.
Yeah. So I just don't remember how I became a A's fan. The uniforms are kind of atrocious. The
I was about to
stadium's
say
terrible.
it can't
Like
be their
there's
logo or they're
there's
atrocious.
nothing good really about them, but I think that's kind of why I'm like I kind of want them to win. Like
Could
they're
be.
always they're always almost there, and it's like oh they missed again. I'm like I start feeling bad, but like the White Sox have always been the underdog. They're the underdog in their own city. Everyone's a Cubs fan,
Right.
and it's like something about the underdog was really a big pull. But just being 6 or 7 years old, pulling that card, and following Frank Thomas's career from there, and he became a beast, my all-time favorite player. And if you ask Tommy about it, he gets a little salty because he's the one that took me. It was either he actually bought the pack for me. He was just like, "Here, I'll buy this one," or it might have been I think his mom's boyfriend at the time or something. But something like that happened. So he's like, "This should be my card." I'm like, "Whatever, get out of here."
Frank Thomas. I don't know if I ever told you this. I had an interaction with Frank Thomas one time, and he was kind of mean to
Uh
me as a little kid. But so I don't want
Probably
to ruin it
deserved
for you. No, I didn't deserve it. He was
it.
being a jerk. He was
Now,
being a
I've
jerk.
heard that a lot during his years playing that he wasn't the nicest guy. I've heard recently people have met him and he's a little bit better, but I
Yeah.
have heard that he wasn't like the nicest guy. I was just that time frame was so good. I was a big Junior fan. I was never a Seattle fan, but
Oh
I
yeah.
love Junior.
Junior,
Uh,
junior, junior. By far, favorite player of all time.
Best swing in the history of baseball. So pretty.
Yep.
So
Over
pretty.
any Red Sox, any Cub, anything. Ken Griffey
Right.
Jr. is my all-time favorite.
Right. See,
Yep.
I always it's funny. Like think of the Cubs too. Like think of that team they had. They had like Ryan Sandberg and shit. Like they had
Yep.
a team. You're surprised that I go back sometimes. I look at like past lineups that didn't win their World Series that year, and like even for my White Sox, one year they're like on top of a great rotation. They had Frank Thomas, Paul Konerko, Maglio Ordonez, Carlos Lee, Robin Ventura, and I'm just like, how did you not win the World Series
Yeah.
with that team?
Right.
It's a
Right.
stacked lineup.
Yeah. Well, I mean, up until I don't know how many years ago, they didn't even have a wild card. Like it was just division winners. So I mean, the regular season was super long, and it meant even more because I think only was it 4 teams made the playoffs or 3 teams made the playoffs back then?
More. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they had
Yeah. They did have
I
one
think they had it split up different.
or something.
Yeah.
But and then the World Series just a few years ago, it was Cubs versus the Indians, and I'm like I got my division rival and my city rival. Like I've never even been to Chicago, but I look at the Cubs and Cubs fans, I'm like, get the fuck out of here, like South side of the way. So like I'm looking at this, I'm like, Ben Zobrist was on the Cubs, so I could kind of go for them maybe, and I was like, I don't want to. And I was like, Cleveland's at least in my division, so that like that would bring a title to the. I was like, nah, I don't want to do that either. So I just I'm not watching it.
Screw it. Yep.
I'm just not watching it at all.
Yeah, that always sucks when like you don't even have a team you want to root for in a championship game.
Right. Speaking of championships, you know who lucked out big time this year? I think Houston. People pretty much forgot almost about everything because of what's going on.
Right.
And they kind of they were going to deal with a very difficult year this season.
They might not even have any fans to get booed by.
Exactly right. They're still going to get hit. I guarantee it. Altuve's going to get plunked more times than almost anybody.
Right. Well, I think they're going to have to be a little bit more careful, though, because, I mean, what are they saying, 70 games or 80 games now?
Yeah.
Is what they're saying. So, I mean, which I think is awesome. I think they should do that normally. But, I mean, that means each game is going to count even more. So you can't just put runners on and lose games willy-nilly. So I think they're still going to get hit, but I think they're going to not get hit nearly as much because teams are going to need to win and can't just afford to put runners on.
Yeah, that makes sense. I used to be a big Astros fan too, like when I was younger, back with
Bagwell.
Bagwell.
Biggio.
Yeah, I used to think they were awesome. That the gray jersey with the gold star. I was like, oh, these guys are cool. And
Killer Bees.
The Killer Bees. Yeah, Biggio, Bagwell, and
Berkman.
That's it. Lance Berkman. That's the name I haven't heard of.
Oh, lefty. Yep.
I was talking to. This was a while ago. I was talking with Tommy. It's like nowadays you don't get the baseball names they used to have in the 90s. You know, where they had some of the best, weirdest names, and like the people in general. You got like Garcia Parra and his weird like getting ready thing,
right?
And what's his name, Craig Counsell with his freaking bat, and Jay Buhner just looking the way he did.
Franco.
Oh my God, he was halfway out the box. You had what's
Gary
his name?
Sheffield.
Yep, Gary. You had Vlad Guerrero hitting the ball off of a bounce.
Yeah.
So I miss 90s baseball a lot.
Yeah, me too. I think it's just become so much. It's so regional now, in my opinion. Like, it's just not as global or as national as it was. I mean, I think most people follow one team, and they don't. You know, if their team's not in the game, they don't watch it. Whereas, like, I used to watch every single game possible when I was a kid, but now, like, trying to get my kids to watch baseball,
right?
I mean, they think it's boring.
Sports in general, Kenzie doesn't really care about. She used to watch a little bit of football every now and then. Like, she'd watch the Gators, actually. Mm-hmm. But I think that was probably more just because, like, they're bright colors. But if I have, like, wrestling or MMA on, she'll walk by and just stop and look. Mm-hmm. I'm like, you're such a weird little girl. Like, this is most extreme sports are not extreme with wrestling, but, like, this is sports are literally people punching each other. And she's just like, oh, wow. She's going to be weird.
Let me watch this, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, at least she's interested in something, so that's cool.
Yeah. It's some kind of sport. She's doing gymnastics, so she's getting really good. So if she sticks with that, I'm okay with that. She'll watch some like YouTube videos on gymnastics and stuff. But she's getting real good at that.
It's good to keep them busy, man.
Yeah, and it's hard right now to try and keep them busy. But
Yep.
She's going with me. This weekend, we leave Sunday morning. Her and Erica and I were driving up to Alabama and Georgia to meet Erica's family. I'm excited.
Nice.
Yeah, It should be fun. Nice little week vacation.
Yeah, always good to get away for a little while, man, and just reset.
Yeah. That's barring another state closure or something. Hopefully, we can make that trip and not have to worry about coming back or checkpoints and stuff. But
Right.
we'll see.
Right.
But you, any aside from Corona preventing it, any plans of trips that you guys wanted to do or?
Yeah, we were supposed to leave today, actually. Today was the day we were supposed to leave to Niagara Falls.
Oh wow,
And yeah, so that got canceled. And then we were going to drive to New Jersey and see my father-in-law and stuff like that and hang out with them and swim in the pool and all that stuff. And it's canceled.
that sucks.
Canadian border's not even open. So even if because like we were still thinking about going and like, man, it was like just take every single precaution we could. But
Right.
we couldn't even get to our hotel because you can't cross the border.
Yeah,
So
Canada said no Americans for a while. You guys
yeah,
stay over
so we're
there.
like, let's just not. So now we're trying to find something else to do just locally to get away,
Right.
something within driving distance, not getting on a plane and just even if it's just going to a hotel and just acting like we're on vacation or something
Staycation,
like
yeah.
that. Right.
I like doing that. We used to do that when I was a kid down here. We would, grandma would just get a hotel out on St. Pete Beach or something, or Treasure Island, and we would just stay there for the weekend or something.
Right.
It's always been fun. You guys have always been good though about finding things to do, even up there. I know a lot of times, from outside looking in families and all this stuff, everybody has their problems. But when you look at like the Facebook things and pictures and journeys and stuff, you guys are like that Hallmark family. It's like they did this journey. I'm like, man, that looks like so much fun. I was like, Jesus, you guys
The
do great
thing
things.
we do try, but the thing about Facebook is you always just see like
The
the
good things.
highlights.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like like yeah, so like you'll be on vacation. It's like, oh, cool, we were there, but then we didn't, post anything for like another like month and a half, and it's like
Right.
lazy days like today, just literally sitting around. The kids are like bored, so they're playing. All they're doing is playing Super Mario like all day long, all day long, all day long, and like you can't pull them away from the controller. So,
Right.
yeah, but for the most part, man, I just try to get the kids out of the house and to see things, man, because I almost never left the state when I was growing up. So we did a lot, man, but we went to like Disney World and Busch Gardens and Fort
Right.
DeSoto, and those were our things. Whereas like, and there's nothing wrong with that, but like I want my kids to see the world and be like when they're talking to classmates or something like that, and they're learning about the Grand Canyon or they're learning about, whatever it might be, to be like, what, well, I've been there, and oh, I already saw that, and so
Right.
yeah.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. I'm excited to get her out. Kenzie's been to Michigan and stuff like that, but nothing too big aside from like the Disney things. So
Yeah.
I know whenever it is, I take my trip to Cape Cod. I know I want to bring her, and that was a trip I originally had just wanted for myself, like to get away and enjoy and really take in. But I'm like, I couldn't do that without her. She's my best friend. Like
And that's
anything I
good. So
do
you
now, I
guys will
think
have
about
those
that.
memories.
Yeah.
And she probably won't appreciate it in the moment, but will look back on it when she is older
Right.
and be thankful for I mean anything like you said, just driving to Alabama. She'll be like, remember that one time we drove to Alabama?
Yep.
It's just the memories.
She'll be asleep half the time anyway, or playing
Yeah,
on the Switch or something.
right.
I got a Switch after the last time we
Oh,
talked.
good for
Yeah.
you, man.
I
What
stepped
did
up
you
and got.
pick up? What game?
The only thing I have right now is that Animal Crossing, because Kenzie
Uh,
wanted to try it and I tried it and I'm like, it was pretty addicting. So I
gotcha.
still haven't picked up Zelda yet, even though I was
Got
told
to.
to by you.
Got to. Got to. Got
I'm
to. Got to.
probably gonna pick it up before we leave because we're gonna split driving half and half. So I'll try it on the drive up there or something. But I got the light version that doesn't dock because I was like, I'm never
Right.
gonna put it in the TV anyway.
Yeah.
So, but it's a good
Cool.
system.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's not bad. It's definitely more, I think, geared towards the kids. But man, to have something on the go like that, like you
Yep.
can't take your PlayStation like that with you. So,
Right.
or your Xbox, whatever it is that you play on. What are you gonna get? A PlayStation 5 or an Xbox? I saw that Xbox like not gonna have any exclusives to the
Yeah.
Xbox.
Um,
Not that I
I'm
like their exclusives, anyways.
the thing is when I look at PlayStation exclusives, they're the only ones that really get me are like the baseball, the show, and that's already in talks of going over to Xbox soon. Last of Us, but they've already done the second one. Who knows if they're doing it? And the second one sucked. I don't even want to get into that. That new Spider-Man will be good. But I'm really not sure yet. I'll probably end up getting the Xbox at least first. Just because that's where all my stuff is. That's where all my games are. That's the most I've played. Right. That's where all the guys I play with are on. And I'm more of a multiplayer game as it is. But eventually I'll end up somehow getting both.
Yeah, I think, to me, Xbox exclusives are just no games that I want to play. So to me, I'm the exact
opposite.
What are they? Like
Sunset
Halo?
Overdrive, Halo, yeah.
What's the racing one? Forza,
yeah.
Forza.
No. And but those end up free anyway on their
PlayStation. Pass. The Horizon Zero Dawn was so good, man. And now they got the second one coming out. You've got, your God of Wars. You've got, Spider-Man's going to be on there. Uncharted. I did not finish God of War. I know I needed to. I'm a bad person.
It's such a good story.
I actually didn't like it, so I don't know.
The ending is what got me. It's just literally the last scene, and it just that whole game led up to him saying,
"Don't ruin it."
It's just whoa, yeah, I won't.
I mean, I probably will go back and finish it, but and I played other God of Wars and I liked them, but for some reason this one here just wasn't quite keeping my attention. Right. So I switched and started Horizon Zero Dawn, and I was going through it. I was like, it's okay. Ended up playing it from front, to start to finish 3 times in a row just to get. Damn. Oh yeah, from just to the highest difficulty you could do, and eventually beating it on ultra hard, and just it was so good. It was such a good game.
Wow. All right. Well, anything else about the NFL season before we get this out of here? Anything that you're looking forward to, worried about?
I'm worried about them playing. Right. I mean, that's my biggest thing. I'm looking forward to. I know they changed a lot of the stuff. Has kind of gotten swept under the rug, and I believe it's for the first year this year. It could be next year the first time that they actually are raising the amount of playoff teams, or they're thinking about it, but then they were going to do an extra game. Up to 17 games, but they were going to give a second bye week, so the season would actually last a week or 2 weeks longer due to that. So I'm pretty sure that was going to be this year, but I mean, all that stuff might be, pushed, thrown out the window because of all this. So, but all that stuff's coming. So it's going to be longer seasons. They want to push that Super Bowl to the end of February. And make the season even longer, which is good for me because I prefer to have a little longer season. And like I said, they're going to make some more playoff teams, I think, too. So I don't know if that part's definite, but I think it's coming to where you're now going to have 10 teams,
right?
Or what is it, 6? So 8 teams in each division, conference. Sorry, make the playoffs. So that makes it even better.
Yeah, once you reach the playoffs, it's always the teams become different. The teams that have been crushing all year could just fold. The teams that have just barely gotten there could all of a sudden blossom. And take what's his name from Philly out of nowhere, just became the best quarterback you've seen in the playoffs, and it's you just didn't expect that.
Right, and you look at the Titans last year, and who thought they were going to beat Baltimore? I don't think anybody had them beating Baltimore. I mean, just Baltimore was steamrolling people. It was Baltimore and Kansas City. Can't wait to see that game. Can't wait to see it. Nope, never happened.
Yeah, I think that's what's kind of fun about NFL compared to other sports in general. With baseball, you can almost pick at least 3 to 4 teams that are going to be in the playoffs every year before the season even starts. Right. Football, you can kind of say, all right, this team's probably gonna make it, but at the same time, there's always gonna be at least 2 to 3 teams in the playoffs that you're had no clue they were gonna do that well.
Right,
and that's the best part.
That's kind of my biggest problem with college football too. Is there's no real way to say who the best team in the league is because all these teams play so many cupcakes, they play their division, but then they their out of conference games, most of them
Right.
are against like nobodies, and it's like you just can't lose a game. But then like if you play in a weak division, you have to win all your games, but you still won't get in. And if you play in a good division, you got to win all your games. Oh, but you could maybe even lose one and still get in just because of your name. And it's like there's no real way to say who is the best team because only 4 teams make the playoffs, you know?
Right.
And those are just picked. That's just those 4 teams probably didn't even play each other.
Yeah, Boise's gotten screwed by that 2 or 3 times. They
Right.
like run the table, but the whole thing is like, no, they're not playing teams tough enough or something. It's like,
Right.
well, then put them in the playoffs and see how they handle themselves.
Exactly. And it's not just them too. Like like USF's gonna have the same problem they ever win their division. I mean, they're gonna be like, oh, but it's USF.
Right.
Let's throw a 2-loss Ohio State team in instead.
Yep.
So it's just you can't. It's so skewed. I mean, unless you can really open it up and make it like 16 teams where like, hey, even the outliers get in, then I mean, it's kind of a popularity contest, really.
Right. All right. Well, good luck in your upcoming drafts. Hopefully, I don't have to be a part of one. I haven't heard anything from Rocky, so I'm assuming not.
I just talked to him, so hopefully we'll be setting that up soon.
I just talked to him too. Him saying that because he was supposed to be on this podcast, and
he bailed.
Yeah, bailed on us. Oh, I'm sorry. No, his dog got sick. Yeah, that's what it was. Which is man code for my wife said I can't do this.
Right, exactly.
We'll see if he really listens or not now.
He's in trouble.
Right. So it's good talking to you again, bro.
All right, man. It's good seeing you. Keep up the good work on the podcast, man. Even if I can't listen to all of it, man, I try to catch at least a little bit of each one.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you for the support.
Yep.
All right, dude.
All right, buddy.